This is Find Your Dream Job, the podcast that helps you get hired, have the career you want, and make a difference in life. I'm your host, Mac Pritchard. I'm also the founder of Mac's List. It's a job board in the Pacific Northwest that helps you find a fulfilling career. Every Wednesday, I talk to a different expert about the tools you need to get the work you want. Hiring managers care about connections. A referral alone won't get you a job, but it can get a recruiter to pull your application from a tall stack of resumes and get you a first interview. Nikki Schutte is here to talk about why you will find your next job through your network. She's the executive director of the Portland Human Resources Management Association. Her organization serves human resources professionals at all levels and functions. Nikki joins us from Oregon City, Oregon. Well, Nikki, we're talking today about why your next job will come through your network. Why does a network matter so much when you're looking for work?
You're not going to find your next job just by looking on LinkedIn or by applying for roles. It's most likely going to come from your network. It's most likely going to come from somebody that you know 5-6 degrees away from you. And it's important that we focus on not just the online stuff, but also the network part.
So you're the executive director of a local chapter of human resources professionals, and HR people do a lot of things, but hiring is a huge part of the job for many people who have that do this work. Why do HR directors care about networks when they're making hiring decisions?
I think it's because we want to make sure that the role that we fill is a good fit for the culture within the organization, right? It's really hard to get to know somebody through a first interview or even a second or third interview. And I think that we all want to rely on things that help us make the right decision, and not just the interview, not just the resume, but perhaps another interaction that somebody might have had with that person.
We all have a network, of course, but many of us might struggle with asking our contacts for help. In your experience, what stops job seekers from using their networks to find their next job, Nikki?
I think it's scary. I
Yeah.
think that it's hard to ask for help. I think most people struggle with that. I think it feels self-serving to say, hey, I need help, or hey, can you help me out with this? So I think that that's probably a big part of it. But I do think that people are willing to help as long as you ask for it.
And again, you talk to HR directors all day long, and they expect to hear from their networks when they're doing hiring, don't they, Nikki?
Yeah, I think HR directors or HR professionals, recruiters, all of them want to hear from people, want to talk to people, want to help people out. And I think that, again, it gives them one more reason why they should continue to build their own network so that they can continue to fill positions, they continue to be that mentor. Perhaps they don't have a role, but again, it's a network that's growing, and perhaps they can help connect you through somebody else that they know.
And if you feel that you don't have a strong network, where do you recommend getting started? Because again, you're all about building connections at your chapter, and when you think about members who might feel that they're not well connected, the ones who do get well connected, what are they doing, Nikki?
Yeah. I think the best way to get connected, the easiest way, in my opinion, is to find your professional group. So whatever profession you are in, you probably have a professional association of some sorts that you can get connected with. And hopefully you have some local people within that professional network as well that you can go to. There are so many things that your professional group, your professional network can provide you. Confidence, education, finding a mentor, all of those things that we don't think that we need until we actually start this work of trying to find a job. And then we're like, oh, yeah, I guess I need some of those things. Or I haven't interviewed in 10 years and I don't know what to do. So I think finding your professional group is the first place to start.
So you look online, you find the local chapter of the professional group for your occupation. What do you do next? Are you going to chapter lunches, an annual conference? And when you do attend events, how do you make the most of them in a way that's going to help you grow your network for and help you find your next job?
In my experience, I think that there are a couple kinds of events, and it kind of depends on what you want to attend. I will say that it's really hard, especially in this post-COVID era, to sometimes get out of our house. And I like to say putting on hard pants and leaving, right? We're comfortable in our sweats and we want to stay home with our families. But I will say that every single time I feel that way and I go to an event, I'm always happy that I put myself out there and that I went. And I think that is really the biggest thing is find something that's interesting to you and just put yourself out there. Put on those hard pants and walk out the door and go to the event. I think there's going to be a lot of networking events. There probably is going to be some educational events. Maybe there's a conference, which we know is going to be a larger audience. So it really kind of depends on what you as a person are comfortable with and what you're willing to put yourself out there with. I think starting with a smaller group is probably going to be better. You're going to be able to build more interactions and more connections in a smaller setting, but it really is up to you.
So you go to an event. How do you, just in terms of managing expectations, how do you know it's successful? You're obviously not going to walk away with a job offer, but what do you see the people who network well in your professional association do in ways that benefit their career and help their job search?
A couple different things. First of all, I recommend that you enjoy yourself.
That's really important, isn't it?
Yes. If you walk away and you're not like, oh gosh, that was great, or oh, that's not a great indication that this was a success for you, right? If you have one great conversation, if you introduce yourself to one person and you find some connection within that conversation, then I think it was a success, right? I think what you want to try to do in building your network and building your community is connecting with somebody who you can continue to see at those professional meetups at that within that professional association so that you can continue to have those conversations and continue to build on that relationship. And maybe even you're going to find somebody that you already know at that association, right? If you've been in a field for a while, then perhaps you're going to run into an old colleague and they can help connect you with other people.
So it's a long game, isn't it, Nikki?
It is. It is. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen the first time you meet somebody, and it's probably not going to happen the fifth time that you meet somebody, which is why it's important to keep attending, keep putting yourself out there, and really keep building that group of people that you know.
Talk more, Nikki, about the benefits you've seen of this long-term networking. You go to the chapter meetings, the lunch, the happy hour, and you meet people, you renew connections. But how does that help you when it comes time to do your job search? Compared to somebody who has never hasn't invested in their network.
Right. I cannot count how many times I've heard from somebody that I found my next job through my network, through my community, through PERMA, through my professional association. And I think part of why that is because being around people who are the same as you and or are different, really just being around people helps you gain confidence in understanding what you want and what is important. And I think that's the advantage, right? Somebody who's just working online or just doing LinkedIn stuff, there's not that human connection, which I think is really, really important, especially now that we're sort of back to, I keep saying back to work, but now that we're back in the offices and back sort of living our lives, it's important to have those human connections because that's where the sweet spot is, right? That's where the bread and butter is and where people are really going to learn who you are, and you're going to learn a little bit more about yourself.
Terrific. We're going to take a break. Stay with us. When we come back, Nikki Schutte will continue to share her advice on why you'll find your next job through your network. We're back in the Max List studio. I'm talking with Nikki Schutte. She's the executive director of the Portland Human Resources Management Association. Her organization serves human resources professionals at all levels and functions. And Nikki joins us from Oregon City, Oregon. Now, Nikki, before the break, we were talking about why you will find your next job through your network, and you talked about the benefits of a network, the role that the value that hiring managers, particularly in the HR profession, place on networks and their openness to hearing from their contacts and their networks. I want to return to a point you touched on in the first segment, which is that you can't rely on your online presence alone, especially LinkedIn, to find your next job. Why is that, Nikki? Why can't you just send out applications and comment on LinkedIn posts and network that way?
Because there's a million people doing the same thing, right? You need to make yourself stand out in some way. And being in front of people, figuring out how to be in front of people, usually by networking, by trying to find them in person at events or local events, is the way to help make yourself stand out and make yourself look different. Because there needs to be something that draws your application to that person. And having met them in a casual environment is a great way to do that.
And why do hiring managers and recruiters place so much value on that personal connection? And again, you touched on this in the first segment. You can't rely on just interviews alone. What's going on there, Nikki?
I think that, again, we're human beings, and I think we're all looking for some sort of connection. We're all looking to make sure that everything is a good fit. Hiring somebody costs an organization a lot of money, right? So we need to make sure that whoever is the candidate that we are going with is the right fit. And it's hard to do that in interviews. And I think that we need to put some more value on those other ways of connecting, other ways of standing out, other ways of showing who you are. That's not in a scary interview situation where everybody's nervous and, oh my gosh, did I say that right? That's not really who you are, right? And we need to showcase who you are in a different environment.
Sometimes I talk to candidates who wince when they hear an employer say, well, it wasn't a good fit, or what advice would you give applicants who are trying to show that are trying to find employers who offer a good fit and for whom they would be a good fit? What have you seen be effective?
Research serves a purpose, and it can help you find the culture, find an environment, find an organization that you connect with. Now, just seeing their values on their website when you go to their About Us section might not provide actual insight. So that's where the next step comes in of finding somebody on LinkedIn, trying to connect with them, finding a professional organization that perhaps that person belongs to, or an industry specific organization, and going to those events and trying to meet people in person. You can also request and try to ask for people for informational interviews on LinkedIn, or even just, hey, I would love to meet you for coffee. Can I come to your office? People love to have those conversations. And again, it's a great way to make those connections and find an in an organization that you might want to work with.
And to do this effectively, you really have to have a sense of where you want to go, because the internet is a vast place, isn't it, Nikki? There's so many places you could work.
Right.
Talk about the importance of knowing of having a list of target employers so that you can network effectively.
I have a couple suggestions. First, if you want to stay in the same industry, the same sort of position. So for example, if I wanted to stay in HR, then I would be looking for organizations that do HR really well. I would be looking in the Portland Business Journal, and I would be looking at who are the top people who are doing HR really well. And I would go to their websites and I would try to find, okay, this could be a fit. Also, it's important for you to do your own research on the C-suite of those organizations, right? Go and find them on LinkedIn and read what they're talking about, read what's important to them. So that helps give you a little bit more insight into how the organization actually runs. And of course, Glassdoor is a great way to also learn about the culture and learn about really what happens sort of behind closed doors.
Okay. So less is more. Narrow your focus so that you can network effectively. We've talked a lot about the value of professional groups, but I know that you encourage people not to limit their networking to professional groups alone. Why is it important, Nikki, to network in different kinds of places?
The point of networking is showcasing who you are as a person, right? And in order to do that, you have to be in a place that's comfortable to you. So find something that interests you. If I like to do crafts, maybe I'm going to find some sort of crafting place to hang out and take a class or something, right? Now, is that the place that I could find my HR role? Not necessarily, but if you're able to make a connection there with somebody, that is one more person that you can connect with on LinkedIn, that you can say, "Hey, I'm looking for my next role," and maybe they know somebody. Maybe they are in the target audience that you're looking for. So I think it's important to be in an element that you're comfortable with, doing something that you like to do, so that you find you find a person that is doing something similar, and that's a really easy way to start building a connection right away. You already have something in common with them.
Many applicants think if I could only get in front of the HR director, in front of her or him, that would make a huge difference. But I also know, just as you encourage people to network outside of their professional groups, you also suggest that people network with people outside the HR department. What do you have in mind there, and why is that important?
You want to hear from the employees what their experience is. You want to talk to people who are doing your actual job, or perhaps it's your dream job, right? Perhaps it's the job that you are striving for and you think you're ready. Uh, you want to talk to them and you want to learn from them what they do, what their day to day is like, what they think about the organization. Would they stay there? If they could go somewhere else, would they go somewhere else, right? You want to have all of those options so that you really feel like you're comfortable in that particular environment. Or perhaps you learn something about the role that you didn't know and that turns you off and you're like, oh gosh, nope, I don't, that's not what I want. So I think there's a variety of reasons why you should network with other people. Also, to the HR director, as much as they love to network with you, they also want to make sure that you're actually ready for this role. And I think talking to other people and building up those potential recommendations is also a really good way to move forward.
What value do HR directors and other hiring managers place on a referral from a fellow employee inside an organization who might have met a candidate if the person gets a text or an email that says, "Oh, you should talk to so and so"? Is that valuable?
I think so. Absolutely. Right. That's kind of what we're talking about. We're
Yeah.
talking about getting your next job 5, 6, 7 degrees away from you, right? It's not going to be your husband that gets you your job or your significant other or your best friend. It's going to be somebody that they know 5 people down the line. And those referrals, those are coming from employees who are doing a great job, who are great fits, and they know what the culture is. So it's almost like they've gone through like a first interview or a first initial meeting, right? And they already feel like they're a good fit for the role.
Good. What about jobs that are never posted? There are widely different estimates out there about the number of positions, but how can your network help you find and get those positions?
HR directors are working a lot on strategy for organizations. They know a lot about what's going on in the organization, what's to come. So sometimes roles aren't posted yet because things haven't actually gone through the process. The position hasn't been approved. Perhaps we're waiting for the next fiscal year to start, which is in X number of months. So they have some inside scoop on what's to come, and I think that it's the networking. I feel like I'm keep saying this, but it is
Yeah.
the community. It is who you know, and it is who they know, and that's what's going to help drive you and help get you those positions that aren't quite posted yet.
No, it's been a terrific conversation, Nikki. Now, tell us what's next for you.
I am going to continue to make an impact on the HR community through PERMA. We are really striving to help make organizations better and really provide a support system for HR professionals so they know they're not doing this profession alone.
Well, I know that our audience can learn more about you and your work at PERMA by connecting with you on LinkedIn. And when you do reach out to Nikki there, please mention you heard her and saw her on Find Your Dream Job. And you also recommend people visit the PERMA website, and we'll include a URL to the website in the show notes. Now, Nikki, given all the great advice you've shared today, what's the one thing you want our audience to remember about why you will find your next job through your network?
It's not just who you know, it's who they know. That's what's going to help you find your next job.
Next week, our guest will be Tanyala Eden. She's a career coach who helps her clients move into new careers. Whether you know it or not, you have a personal brand, and it can help or hurt you when you look for work. Join us next Wednesday when Tanyala Eden and I talk about how to use your personal brand in your job search. Until next time, thanks for letting us help you find your dream job. This show is produced by Max List. Susan Thornton Hoff schedules our guests and writes our newsletter. Lisa Kislenberry Anderson manages our social media and creates our transcripts. Our sound engineer and editor is Matt Fiorillo, and our music is by Freddie Trujillo. This is Mac Pritchard. See you next week.